Hi, and welcome to Reddit Confessions. Don't touch me without one. That's the first thing she said when I reached for her after she walked through the door. No, hi. No, I missed you. No, how was your week? Just that sentence. Cold. Flat. Like I was a stranger. Like we were negotiating some kind of clinical transaction. She dropped her bags in the hallway. Still zipped, still tagged. Her coat was folded over her arm like she was a guest. And she smelled different. Expensive. Exotic. Not her usual vanilla bean lotion. No. This was bolder. Like a memory I wasn't allowed to access. I just stood there. My hand halfway to her hip. I must have looked stupid, like a guy who reached for a doorknob and got shocked. Protection, she repeated, grabbing a bottle of water and twisting it open. I'm just being cautious. Cautious? After 7 years of marriage? I smiled. That stupid, spineless smile you do when you're trying to pretend your heart didn't just fracture. Okay, I said. Sure. But something inside me started to unravel. She walked past me like she didn't just drop a grenade in the living room. Her heels echoed down the hallway. I heard the bathroom door shut and lock. She'd never locked it before. Not once in all our years. I sat down. I didn't even remember doing it. 1 second I was standing. The next, I was slouched on the edge of the couch like I had aged 10 years in a blink. And then I noticed the suitcase. Still zipped. Still tagged. But the zipper had a tiny smear on it. Lipstick? No. It was darker. Like a smudge of foundation. Or. No. Stop. Don't jump to conclusions. That's what I told myself. But then I saw the card. A small card tucked just under the front pouch. I pulled it out. It was a drink voucher. Complimentary. Room 1215. A Hyatt. I checked her itinerary again. She told me she was staying at a downtown business hotel. This wasn't that. This was across town. Closer to the nightlife. The voucher was signed. Redeemed by Vance. No last name. Just Vance. Who the hell is Vance? I stared at the card like it would answer me. It didn't. 10 minutes later, she came out in her robe. Wet hair. Clean face. Fresh, like she was resetting. Like I wouldn't notice the pieces of someone else clinging to her skin. She sat across from me and smiled. You look tired, she said. I nodded. She turned on the TV. Some cooking show. And just like that, I was a roommate again. Not a husband. Not a man. Not anyone. Just a body on the couch. But I had questions now. And I wasn't going to let them rot in my stomach anymore. I didn't ask her that night. About the voucher. About the name. About the ridiculous request to use protection after 7 years of sleeping skin to skin, after years of trying for a child, after dozens of conversations about trust, loyalty, and us. I stayed silent. And that silence chewed on my insides like acid. She fell asleep quickly, peacefully, even. As if her world was intact, as if she hadn't knocked the breath out of mine with one sentence. Meanwhile, I lay there on the edge of our bed, stiff as a board, staring at the ceiling, wondering if the bed still remembered how it felt when we loved each other in it. The next morning, I watched her from the kitchen as she stood in the hallway mirror adjusting her necklace. Her reflection caught mine, just for a second. But she didn't smile. She didn't even blink. It was like she was looking through me, like I had become a background blur in her life. I think that hurt more than any affair could. Still, I made her breakfast. Because I'm that guy. I fry the eggs. I burn the toast slightly just how she likes it. And I pretend I didn't find a drink voucher from a hotel she never told me she stayed at. I pretend her scent hasn't changed. I pretend I don't know she's hiding something, or someone. But pretending gets heavy. Heavier than betrayal sometimes. That afternoon, she was in the shower. Again. Second time that day. I told myself it was normal. Jet lag, maybe. But it wasn't. I went to her purse. I had never done that before. I felt like a thief in my own house. My hands were clammy, my heart beating like I was stealing state secrets. I didn't even know what I was looking for. A receipt? A note? A clue that could scream at me louder than the silence in our home? I found her phone. Locked. Of course. But then I saw something else in the inside zipper pocket, a folded napkin from the hotel bar. Classy handwriting. Mail. Confident. You looked dangerous in red. V. That was it. Just an initial. But my mind was already connecting the dots. Vance. My fingers gripped the napkin like it owed me answers. I stood there, frozen, until I heard the shower stop. I scrambled to stuff everything back and ran to the couch like a kid caught sneaking candy. She came out with a towel around her head, humming again. That same tune she always hums when she's pretending everything's fine. She kissed my cheek like I was a house pet. Sat down. Scrolled her phone. I watched her fingers move like nothing had shifted between us. But everything had. I waited until dinner. She poured herself a glass of wine. I didn't pour one. My stomach was a war zone. When she sat down at the table, I took a breath and asked the question that had been gnawing at my throat since I saw the voucher. Who's Vance? She didn't flinch. That scared me more than anything. She blinked once. Then looked at her wine. Swirled it. Took a sip. Why are you asking that? My voice cracked. Found his name. On a voucher. From the Hyatt. She didn't lie. She didn't stutter. She didn't even act surprised. She just nodded. Slowly. He's someone from work. I waited. And? Her lips pressed together. He's not important. That's when I laughed. A small, broken, pathetic laugh. Not important. But I'm the one who suddenly needs protection. She set the wine down too carefully. Like any sudden move would shatter the illusion we were still okay. I didn't want to have this conversation like this, she said quietly. But she wasn't sad. She wasn't nervous. She looked calculated. Like she'd rehearsed this. Like I was following her script, and I didn't even know what act we were in. So what is it, Daphne? Was he important enough to ruin this? She stood up. Calmly. Picked up her glass. I'm going to bed. And just like that, she walked away. Like I hadn't just begged for the truth with everything I had left. I sat there. Alone. In the house I thought was built on love. With a napkin in one hand and a question in the other that she refused to answer. But I wasn't done. Not yet. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Again. Like I hadn't brought up Vance, like she hadn't walked away mid-conversation, like our marriage wasn't cracking like old porcelain. She asked me if I wanted scrambled or poached. I said toast. I didn't want food. I wanted answers, but apparently, those were off the menu. I noticed her phone sitting unattended on the kitchen island. Charging. Unlocked. Maybe on purpose. Maybe not. She was upstairs drying her hair. I told myself I wouldn't snoop again. But my hand reached for it anyway, like it had a will of its own. I opened her calendar app. Just curiosity, I told myself. Every weekday was filled with standard work entries. Weekly syncs, project calls, client meetings, all regular stuff. But last Friday, the second night of her conference, there was just one word on her calendar. No time. No location. Reset. Not a flight. Not a meeting. Just reset. Who labels a whole day like that? Especially someone like Daphne, who color codes doctor visits and puts emoji reminders for grocery days. That word haunted me. I stared at it longer than I care to admit. Reset from what? From me? I didn't hear her come downstairs. I quickly backed out of the app and set the phone down like it was a ticking bomb. She didn't say anything, but her eyes glanced at the phone, then at me. I'm heading out, she said. Erin needs help setting up for her sister's baby shower. Erin. Her work friend. Always conveniently available when Daphne needed a vague alibi. I nodded, trying to sound neutral. Want me to come? She laughed, short, awkward. It's just us girls. You'd be bored. Then she grabbed her purse, kissed me on the forehead like a child being tucked in, and walked out the door. The second the door clicked, I grabbed my keys and followed her. I don't know what came over me. I've never done anything like that before. But something inside me had snapped. I needed to see where she really went. I waited 2 minutes, then drove after her. I kept a few cars back. My palms were sweaty. My heart raced like I was about to rob a bank. She didn't drive toward Erin's neighborhood. She went the opposite direction. Toward the business district. Past the turn for her office. And then she pulled into the parking lot of a coffee shop I didn't recognize, one of those boutique places with recycled wood signs and glass walls. She didn't go inside right away. She sat in her car. Checking her face in the mirror. Fixing her lipstick. Then another car pulled up beside her. A black Audi. New. Clean. Tinted windows. He got out first. I didn't need to see much to know it was him. Vance. Had to be. Tall. Confident walk. No rush in his body. Like he expected this. Like he owned it. Daphne stepped out of her car next. She was smiling. Not the polite smile she gave our neighbors. Not the rehearsed one she gave me when I asked too many questions. It was genuine. Soft. Excited. She reached for him. They hugged. Not quick. Not formal. They held each other. His hand moved to the small of her back. And she let it. I felt my lungs stop working. They didn't kiss. Nothing scandalous. Just coffee, probably. Maybe talk. Maybe pretend they were still hiding. But the hug was enough. Too much. I turned my car off. Sat there. For 10 minutes, I watched through a windshield blurred with shame and disbelief. Then I started the engine and drove back home. I don't even remember the route I took. The house was still warm from her perfume. Her robe was still hanging on the door hook. Her toothbrush sat next to mine. But something fundamental had shifted. And I knew, the word reset wasn't for her career. It was for her conscience. She'd already pressed the button. I was just still stuck in the boot-up screen. She didn't mention the coffee shop when she got home. She said Erin's shower setup was chaotic but fun, that they laughed a lot, that she had icing on her jeans from cupcakes. She showed me a photo of a pink balloon arch as if that proved everything. But there was no Erin in the photo. No people at all. Just decorations. A room that could have been anywhere. I wanted to say something. Wanted to blurt out that I followed her. That I saw Vance. That I watched her smile like a teenager with a crush. But I didn't. I was too scared of what would happen if I stopped pretending. If I stepped fully into the truth, I might not come back. So I played my part. The dumb, sweet husband who just wanted to hear about her day. Who nodded at the right moments. Who offered to do laundry like always. But that night, something changed, not because of me, but because of her. She left her phone on the bed while she went to shower. Normally, she keeps it close. Obsessively close. I used to think it was a work thing. Now I know better. It buzzed once. Then again. Then again. 3 messages. All from the same name, V. I didn't even have to open it. The preview text was enough to set my nerves on fire. Still thinking about this morning. You looked distracted. Everything okay? I can cancel next weekend if it's too much. Next weekend? I picked up the phone. I knew her passcode now. I'd watched her enter it too many times to pretend I didn't. The messages were clean. He hadn't said anything explicitly damning. Just close enough to be intimate. Careful enough to be deniable. But in the gallery, I found something that stripped all the excuses away. A hidden album. Named Archived. Inside were only 4 photos. All recent. All taken in the same hotel room. I recognized the headboard. The curtains. The same room I saw in the Hyatt photos online. In the first image, Daphne was standing in front of the mirror in a robe. Hair wet. Smiling. Natural. In the second, she was on the bed, legs crossed, laptop in front of her, wine glass beside her. It was dimly lit, but cozy. Intimate. A private world. The third, Vance. Shirtless. Leaning back, blurry in the background while she was in focus. The last one wasn't sexual. It was worse. It was a selfie. Her head against his shoulder. She looked calm. Safe. Like this was normal. I stood there, gripping the phone, heart racing, head buzzing like a broken power line. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just felt hollow. Like someone had scooped the air out of me. Then I heard the water stop. I panicked. Closed the album. Locked the phone. Set it down on the bed exactly how she left it. I backed out of the room and into the hallway like I'd just committed a crime. She came out in a towel, humming again. Always humming. But now, I heard it differently. That tune was the soundtrack to my humiliation. My oblivion. Want to watch a movie? She asked. I nodded. She picked some dumb comedy and laughed like nothing in her life was breaking. I sat beside her. But I wasn't really there. I was still in that hotel room. Still looking at those photos. Still wondering when she started sleeping beside me with her mind in another man's arms. Around midnight, she got up and said she was tired. I said I'd stay up a bit longer. When she left, I didn't reach for the remote. I reached for my laptop. I typed one thing into Google: what do you do when your wife is emotionally gone, but still pretending? The answers weren't helpful. Blogs. Forums. Advice columns. All vague. All soft. No one knew how to respond when the betrayal wasn't loud or violent, but quiet and calculated, like a thief stealing your life one day at a time. But one post stood out. A man had written something that pierced me like a nail. It's not the affair that ruins you. It's watching the person you love lie to your face, over and over, like you're the one being unreasonable. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the dark hallway, listening to her soft breathing down the corridor, wondering how long she had been practicing this dual life. How many mornings she looked at me and felt nothing. How many times she laughed at my texts while texting him under a different name. The house was quiet. But inside me, something had finally started screaming. The next day, I did something I never thought I'd be capable of. I crossed a line. Maybe it had already been crossed for me, and I was just following her lead. But I did it anyway. When she went to shower, I opened her phone again. Not out of curiosity this time, but with a purpose. I went back to the hidden photo album. Those 4 images burned in my head, but I needed them in my hands, away from her lock screen, away from her denials. I forwarded them to myself. All 4. Then I deleted the sent trace. I told myself it was for clarity. For proof. For closure. But deep down, I think I just needed them to make the betrayal feel real. Otherwise, I'd keep waking up in this house, sharing meals with her, pretending her laughter wasn't a cover-up, her eyes not a veil. She came out of the bathroom moments later, damp hair clinging to her neck, humming again. I had her phone back where it belonged. Screen black. Angle just right. She didn't notice a thing. We sat at breakfast like strangers in a polite hostage negotiation. She scrolled. I sipped coffee that tasted like ash. She asked if I could grab milk on my way home from work. I nodded. I almost said, "I love you," like I always do, but it stopped halfway up my throat like it knew it no longer belonged. At work, I opened the email. Stared at the photos in full screen. Zoomed in. Examined. Tortured myself. There was a reflection in the wine glass in photo 2, Vance, holding a phone, taking her picture. Casual. Relaxed. Like it was routine. Not a stolen moment, but a snapshot from a life I wasn't even invited to. I almost replied to the email with just one word, "Why?" As if sending it back to her inbox would force her to answer. But I didn't. Instead, I forwarded the pictures again, this time to a secure folder. I created a new email address. One she wouldn't recognize. Just in case. Part of me didn't know what I was planning. Another part was already 10 steps ahead. That night, we didn't touch. She said she had a headache. Said she was going to bed early. She left her glass of wine half full on the nightstand. I stood outside our bedroom door and listened to the silence inside. No footsteps. No TV. No movement. Just her sleeping breath. Steady. Peaceful. Like nothing was wrong. I went to the living room, sat on the couch, and opened my laptop. Again. My hands shook slightly, but I didn't hesitate this time. I looked up the Hyatt's number. The one from the drink voucher. Then I looked up room 1215. Nothing public, obviously. But I kept digging. And then I found it, a blog post from a business traveler. He talked about how the executive suite at the Hyatt offered a luxury couple's bath, an oversized soaking tub with skyline views, built specifically to attract weekend getaways. There was a photo. Same headboard. Same curtains. Same layout. I wasn't crazy. She hadn't been at a conference. She'd been with him. There. For at least 2 nights. And now. I had it all. The hotel. The room. The photos. The fake meetings. The name. Vance. But still, I had no truth. She hadn't confessed. She hadn't said anything real. I'd caught her in every way possible but still hadn't heard the words. The betrayal was carved into my mind, but it hadn't yet left her lips. And I wanted, no, I needed, to hear her say it. I needed the final nail. The thing that would stop me from ever doubting myself again. So I made a plan. I messaged her from the new email address. An anonymous account. Just 2 words. Room 1215. That was all. I hit send. 30 seconds later, from the hallway, I heard her phone buzz. Then again. Then silence. Then I heard something I hadn't heard in months. Her footsteps. Slow. Uneven. She stood just behind the wall, holding her phone. She was breathing differently. She knew. I waited. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. She stood there for a long time, like a statue made of glass. And then she walked back into the bedroom and shut the door. No words. No questions. Just distance. But this time, I wasn't the only one feeling it. The next morning, I didn't bring it up. I watched her closely instead. Every move, every blink, every fake sip of her coffee. She didn't hum this time. She didn't even touch her phone for 20 minutes, like it had turned into a loaded gun. Her silence was so thick I could hear her chewing toast from the other side of the table. She looked at me once. Just once. Quick. Sharp. Like she was trying to read if I knew something. She didn't ask if I slept well. Didn't comment on the weather. Didn't say she loved me. And that's when I knew, the message landed. Room 1215 had struck her somewhere deep. Not just because it was anonymous. But because it meant the truth was out there, floating just beyond her control. She had no idea who knew. Or how much. That terrified her more than anything. For the first time in weeks, I was the one holding something. Not her. I let her sit in it. At lunch, I got a text. From her. Short. Chilling. Can we talk tonight? Not, I need to talk. Not, let's talk. But can we? Like it was optional. Like she wasn't sure I'd show up to the conversation she'd spent so long dodging. I replied with one word, yes. The day crawled. Every minute felt like a countdown to something I didn't want to hear but needed to survive. She was already home when I walked in. Sitting in the living room. No TV. No wine. No distractions. Just waiting. She looked up, and for a split second, she looked 14 again. Like a scared girl trying to explain a broken vase to her parents. But I didn't offer comfort. I sat across from her and waited. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then finally, with a tremble so slight it would have been invisible to anyone else, she whispered, "You know, don't you?" I didn't answer. Just stared. She folded her hands. Took a breath. It wasn't supposed to happen. That phrase. I've read it online. I've heard people say it in movies. But when it comes from the person who promised to love you forever, it's not just a cliché, it's a razor. I asked one thing. The only thing that mattered. How long? She looked down. 4 months. 4 months. While I made her breakfast. While I folded her laundry. While I scheduled dentist appointments and worried about money. While I picked out a crib catalog last month because we were supposed to be trying again for a baby. 4 months. She started explaining, of course. That's what they do. She talked about how Vance wasn't planned, how he saw her in ways I didn't. How they had real conversations, how she felt like a woman again, how she didn't mean to hurt me. I didn't respond. Not at first. I just watched her. Noticed how her words were organized like a script. Her hands folded neatly in her lap like she was presenting a quarterly report. Then she said something that broke whatever was left in me. I didn't think you'd find out. That's what she said. Not, I regret it. Not, I'm sorry. But that. She didn't regret doing it. She regretted getting caught. I felt something in my chest collapse. I thought I'd cry. Or scream. Or throw something. But all I did was laugh. Not because it was funny. Because I realized how done I was pretending. I told her everything. The photos. The hidden album. The coffee shop. The emails. Her face drained. She didn't deny any of it. She just sat there like a child caught stealing. I was going to end it, she whispered. I asked, when? She didn't answer. Because she wasn't. That night, she slept in the guest room. I didn't ask her to. She just did. And I lay there alone in our bed, knowing this wasn't the beginning of the end, it was the middle of something much worse. A quiet war with no clear weapons. Just guilt and silence. At 2:14 a.m., I heard her crying through the wall. But I didn't get up. She wasn't my responsibility anymore. The next morning, I left the house without speaking to her. No eye contact. No breakfast. No shared silence across the kitchen table. Just footsteps, a door, and the engine starting. She didn't text. She didn't call. And I think that scared me more than if she had. She was giving me space. The kind of space you give someone when you're not sure if you still live in the same emotional house, when you don't know if the version of you in their mind is alive or dead. At work, I couldn't focus. I stared at spreadsheets like they were written in another language. I thought I'd feel relief after her confession, but all I felt was this new, crushing weight, the weight of reality. No more suspicion. No more paranoia. Just facts. And the cold, hard truth that I had been replaced for months, and smiled through all of it. So I did something I wasn't proud of. Again. I created an event. A fake one. A made-up marketing seminar, hosted by an imaginary agency at a downtown hotel. I gave it a name that sounded just real enough: Dynamic Client Evolution, Relationship Mapping in Modern Branding. I sent it from a burner email. Used a fake RSVP link. I made it look official. Professional. I sent it to her personal email. And then I booked a seat in the coffee shop directly across the street from the hotel I listed on the invite. She replied within 4 hours. Will be attending. Please confirm parking info. That was the moment I knew it wasn't over. Not really. She might have confessed, but the part of her that wanted out hadn't let go. She wasn't trying to repair. She was trying to manage exposure. I took the day off. Called in sick. Sat in that coffee shop the next morning with a pair of sunglasses and a laptop I didn't even open. I watched the hotel lobby across the street. Watched the guests come and go. Watched the clock. Then I saw her. She arrived early. Alone. Hair done. Full makeup. Heels. A navy dress I hadn't seen before, not in our house, not in the laundry. It was new. She wore it for him. Not for me. She stood in the lobby and checked her phone. Looked around. Fidgeted with her bag. Then he appeared. Vance. Taller than I remembered. Broad. Confident. His body language was too casual. He wasn't nervous. He walked up to her like they'd planned it all, because they had. She smiled. But not like someone smiling through guilt. Like someone who was finally breathing again. Like this was the moment she had been waiting for, not the awkward talk with me, not the confession in our living room, but this. Him. He touched her elbow. Whispered something. She laughed. And I died. Quietly. Internally. 1,000 times in 30 seconds. They walked away. Not to the hotel ballroom where my fake event was supposedly happening. But toward the elevator. No hesitation. No guilt. I didn't follow. I sat in that coffee shop for another hour, staring into a cup that had long gone cold, wondering how many times they'd done this before. How many cities? How many elevators? How many days I'd sat at home like a loyal fool while she was being adored by a man who didn't earn her, didn't wait through the struggle, didn't build her with years of shared heartbreak and dreams. She didn't return home until after midnight. I was on the couch. TV on. Volume low. I didn't look up when she entered. She tried to act casual. Said she'd gotten drinks with coworkers. Traffic was bad. Her phone had died. I just nodded. Let her spin the web, thinking I was caught in it. She didn't even notice my bag packed in the hallway closet. She didn't ask why I had my car keys in my hand when I said I was heading upstairs. I wasn't going upstairs. I was leaving. For good. I didn't know. But I had one more move left. I'd already forwarded the photos. Now I was forwarding the truth. I didn't sleep the night before I left. I just sat in the car, outside the house we built together, engine off, headlights off, letting the weight of everything settle on my chest. Her betrayal. Her performance. The lies. But mostly, the waste. All those years spent believing I was building something solid with someone who already had one foot outside the foundation. I waited for the sunrise. When it finally cracked across the sky, I went back inside quietly. She was still asleep. Peaceful. Dreaming. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom for a long time, watching her. Not out of love, that part had faded into something else. Something quieter. But because I needed to see the version of her I once adored, one last time. The version that no longer existed. On the kitchen table, I left a simple envelope. No dramatic letters. No long-winded explanations. Just two things. The first, a printed photo from her hidden album. The one where she was smiling in the hotel room, wine glass in hand. I circled the reflection of Vance in the background. The second, a post-it note. You can stop pretending now. I already have. I took nothing but the essentials, my car, my laptop, a suitcase, and oddly, the mug she gave me on our second anniversary. The one that said, "Still yours." I took it not because it meant anything now, but because I earned the memories that came before the fall. I wasn't going to let her keep even that. For 3 days, I stayed at an old friend's place. No phone calls. No emails. Just silence. I thought I'd break down. I thought I'd spiral. But I didn't. Something unexpected happened instead. I exhaled. For the first time in what felt like months, I breathed. I started reading again. Cooking. Laughing, real, ugly, spontaneous laughing, at something dumb on TV. I didn't realize how small I'd become in that relationship. How I'd shrunk myself to make her feel big. I'd wrapped my life around her needs and forgot I had a spine, a voice, a right to be loved back honestly. On the 4th day, I got a text from her. I understand. I'm sorry. I'll sign whatever you need. That was it. No defense. No bargaining. Just the end. I replied only once. Take care of yourself. Because I wasn't hers to talk to like that anymore. I wasn't her backup plan. Her emotional doormat. Her predictable little safety net. I was a man who walked away, not in rage, not in chaos, but in silence, with his dignity intact. A month later, I moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. My name on the lease. My own furniture. My own keys. I still make coffee too strong and toast too burnt. But now, I do it while smiling at my own reflection, not second-guessing whether I'm enough for someone else. Will I trust again? Probably. Will I love again? Hopefully. But one thing is certain, I'll never let someone rewrite my worth in the margins of their betrayal again. I've already started over. From scratch. And honestly, I like who I'm becoming. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If you've ever faced betrayal and chose peace over revenge, drop a comment below. What moment made you finally walk away? And hey, you're watching Reddit Confessions, where stories are real, emotions are raw, and healing begins with truth. We'd love to hear about a powerful turning point in your own life. What moment changed everything for you? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if this story hit home. Until next time, stay true to yourself.